Everybody. It's Ted Bodromo, and I have Nina Cooke with me today. I met Nina on LinkedIn, gosh, maybe a year ago now, just through
Something like
friendly
that. Yeah.
conversations. But I had her on as my guest on my mastermind, and she's just an amazing coach, a mindset coach, and she does so many things. And if you want to talk about this, the fraud, there are so many fake experts out there now. And sometimes we feel like we don't know enough to be an expert, right?
Absolutely. The imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So this is what rears its ugly head. And for so many entrepreneurs, and I've worked with entrepreneurs who are just starting, or they've transitioned maybe from corporate to starting their own business, right up to entrepreneurs who hit seven figures. And I would say that with the majority of them, they have some of this imposter syndrome going on. It may be to a larger extent or a smaller extent, but it really shows its face for the more established entrepreneur when they're thinking of moving up to the next level and maybe putting up their prices, or creating a bigger program, or working with a higher level client, having to do outreach, and then suddenly they get all this self-doubt coming up and hitting them in the face. And if they don't do something about it, then that's going to really slow them down, or maybe even stop their growth.
Yeah, I felt that many times too. When I was in the technology world, I felt comfortable because I felt like an expert. But when I transitioned into coaching, I said, well, I'd never coached anyone. How can I be a coach and charge people?
The good thing is we all start at the beginning somewhere. Whenever we're starting something new, we're coming out of our comfort zone. And so you're going to start at the beginning thinking, I don't have many testimonials. I don't have much experience at the moment. But don't let that stop you, because you'll have a ton of training behind you. You'll have invested heavily in yourself, and the experience comes from working with clients. So it's really getting over that big bump where you think, I don't know enough. People aren't going to pay me. I don't have much to show for what I'm doing at the moment. And that's that point which really separates the entrepreneurs who think, okay, I'm just going to build up my business and I'm just going to go for it. And there will be some setbacks along the way, but I'll be able to cope with them and have the resilience. And there are those who say, well, I have to wait until my website is perfect, or I have that perfect program ready, or the webinar has to be ready before I launch into the world. And they just keep working all these things, but they don't actually turn the tap on in their business, which means they don't get clients. And I don't know about you, Ted, but I spoke to someone today who's been struggling for 10 years to get her business going. 10 years.
That's crazy.
And that's heartbreaking, because she said, I've been doing some free sessions and I've got some really good testimonials, but she just doesn't have the confidence to be able to ask for the money.
Mm-hmm.
So she probably end up giving away free stuff for a while longer until she deals with these fears around, she's not good enough, and there's something that there's something wrong with her, or people aren't going to pay her.
Yeah. I do free profile makeovers for people that were in the military for LinkedIn. So as they're coming out of the military and going into civilian life. And I talked to these people that were in the Army for 20 years and they've led teams into battle. I said, you've put your life on the line, and they feel like they don't have the skill set to go into business. Like, oh my God, you have so much going for you. And they feel like imposters coming into the business world.
Absolutely. Which makes it so helpful to have an objective opinion. Someone who has experience in that role and can say, actually, let's list all your skill set, and you will be blown away by how much you know. And you have a unique skill set that no one else has, and play to those strengths rather than thinking, I don't have anything to bring to the table. So we really put ourselves down, and we seem to have a tendency to put ourselves down rather than to build ourselves up. And when I'm talking about building ourselves up, I'm not talking about an arrogant, narcissistic way. I'm talking about really appreciating what we do have. And when I was looking at my skill set, I thought, well, I've got, a lot of experience in helping my clients to overcome mind blocks so they can grow their business, charge more, reach out to a bigger audience, all of those things. And then I thought, well, actually, I've been in marketing online since 2005. I've been in sales probably for decades. My first ever job was a sales job. So, we have so many more skills than we realize that we have. And when we can bring all of those to the prospect as well, then we can help them in a much bigger way than we ever thought. possible.
Yeah. Yeah. We've all had our own journey to get where we are today. So we have a lot of experience to draw on.
A lot of life experience as well, which is very valuable.
Yeah. So when people come to you and start working with you, like, where do you start?
Well, I start with the challenges that they can identify. And then we start from there. And it's like pulling the end of a string. If you've got a ball of string, you take it at the end and then you start pulling it and see what else unravels from there. So typical things that my clients come to me with are fear of visibility, fear of putting themselves out there and selling themselves, because they mistake selling their services with selling themselves. But actually, we're selling our service. No one can buy me, but they can buy my service. So when you can separate those two things out, it becomes much less personal and much easier to sell your service as a commodity, almost as if you were selling, I don't know, if you were selling someone's, service, someone else's service. It doesn't feel so personal when someone says no. So that's one thing. Visibility is a huge thing. Another thing is being able to work with high fee clients. So they really want to be able to put together a bigger program and serve their client in a bigger way, which means they're going to be asking for a higher price point. That really freaks out a lot of entrepreneurs. Yeah. They are procrastinating. This is another very big thing. They aren't taking action in their business. It may be in terms of getting an offer ready or marketing. It may be reaching out to bigger players in the market. And because they have all these fears about doing that, that's where the fraud complex really, really comes into its own, because they have thinking like, no one's going to be interested in what I have. And so if you do try and launch your offer and not as many people buy it as you want, then you will think, well, actually, I failed. But if you never launch your offer, then you will never get to that point where you think I've failed.
Right.
So they'll procrastinate on actually putting the offer out there because they don't have to face that situation. But you never learn anything by not putting it out there. You have to see what the feedback is, whether it worked, what bit worked, what didn't work, what results people are getting by taking your program or using your service. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there with a blank piece of paper thinking, well, I don't know what to do next, because you haven't tested or tried anything. So this is all fear-based thinking, and it's scarcity-based thinking as well. And we have all this, we identify with our thoughts and we think they're true. People aren't going to be interested in what I have to say. So-and-so is doing a much better job in that niche than I am. Oh, look at that person. They've got all these clients, and that person's got a great website. So we compare ourselves with other people. But as we know, comparing ourselves with people's outside and comparing our inside with someone's outside is just not an equal comparison. And again, having worked with clients, I bet you found the same thing. What you see as the veneer, if you like, or what someone presents to the world is often very different to what's going on in their business life and, behind closed doors. So to compare ourselves to other people, for me, is just a complete waste of energy and time, because you have no idea what you're comparing yourself to. So all of those things where we trip ourselves up and think, well, I don't know enough, I won't be able to deliver on my promise, maybe I can't get my client the result that they want. All of this is part of the imposter syndrome, where we believe on some deep level that we're not good enough.
Yeah.
And people are going to see that about us. And this is something we have to keep hidden from everyone. So every time we expose ourselves, then there's a chance someone might find this out about us to be true. Then they're going to tell everyone, and we're going to be humiliated. Our reputation will be in tatters. So we spin out this big lie out into the future, this big story. We create a big story in our head just from taking one action. If I were to put out a video, if I were to send out an email, then all these terrible things may happen as a result of it. So I'll put it off. I might send it out next week, but I won't do it today. And then we'll make excuses. We justify our excuses. We've got something busy to work on in our business. But actually, we know the best work we can do in our business is outreach of some sort. That's what brings in clients. And fiddling around on the edges of our business isn't going to give us results that we want.
Yeah, I remember when I was starting out in this world and I learned online ads, like Google ads. And I said, oh, now I got to learn copywriting. Then I've got to learn SEO, and I've got to learn how to build a website. And I kept buying more courses and reading more books. And it's like, I was in that same mindset. Like, I got to have all this together before I can put out an offer. I remember I did my first webinar I put out to my email list, which was probably like 50 people on my email list. Nobody showed up for the webinar.
That happens again. We can intentionally respond to that. We can react by default, which may be, well, no one's interested, this isn't going to work, I better go and get a job.
Right.
Or whatever it is, and go and just lick our wounds for a few days, maybe weeks, even months. Or we can respond with intention, productive response, which would be, okay, what can I learn from this? Maybe there's something I can tweak to make it a better offer or make it more enticing. Maybe I can ask someone to mail their list for me. Maybe I can talk to someone who's good at this type of thing and get their feedback. So all of these thoughts that we have, they seem like small stuff, but they're the big stuff.
Yeah.
They're the things that really make a huge difference. And when we look at entrepreneurs who are doing extremely well, who are genuinely doing very, very well, and the ones who just feel that they're stuck and they can't get out of their stuckness, the difference is the mindset. And it's really the mindset of taking action in your business, being able to cope with setbacks, learn from them, and keep going.
And be open to the negative feedback. You know, you don't get that much negative feedback, really, but in your mind, you're afraid you're going to get it.
Absolutely. And people think, well, they don't know what they're talking about. Why are they saying that? That's not right. It's not true. That way doesn't work, that they're telling us about. So we can make up all of these stories, but actually it's just getting down to it, doing the work, having a great strategy, having the beliefs in place which enable you to be able to have a big vision for your business, and then just doing that work consistently. And really that is the formula for having success. Because if the strategy you have isn't working, you have the courage, the strength to be able to change to a different strategy if you need to.
Right.
But that is something which everyone can do. But if you're not getting off out of the starting blocks, if you're just holding back, if you're playing small because you fear being exposed as a fraud, then that's what's going to be, that's what causes the biggest damage. Your competitors aren't the ones which are your biggest obstacle to success. It's not taking action in your business that's the biggest obstacle to your success.
Right. And consistent action over and over and over.
Even those things that you don't want to do, actually delegate out the stuff that you hate doing. Focus on the stuff that you love doing. But, you know, LinkedIn is a classic example, isn't it? If we do outreach every day, even if it's for 15 minutes a day, you're going to see results.
Yeah.
Or you're going to find out what works and what doesn't work, which means that you can, you know, pivot, try something different, but you'll have learned a huge amount along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. 15 minutes a day, every day.
15 minutes a day, every day. And I'm guilty of not doing 15 minutes a day, every day, but sometimes I'll just cram in an hour to make up for it. But I do know that when you do your work on LinkedIn, you get results.
Yeah.
I've created great relationships. I met you on LinkedIn, and I've got clients from LinkedIn because it works. If you work with someone like you who gives you a great strategy, then you're going to get results. But that is an example of showing up every day and doing it. And really that's the difference, isn't it, between very successful people and people who aren't so successful. They just do it, but they have the beliefs that allow them to take action so they don't keep tripping themselves up in their mind and making excuses.
Yeah. And I find if you be more authentic when you're reaching out to people and really be more vulnerable, share your failures, share your successes, and be yourself. There's 6 million coaches on LinkedIn right now, but there's enough people that would resonate with you when you put yourself out there.
Yeah, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that there are a lot of people out there who are able to help and people who want that help as well. So if you're not showing off, you know, if you're not sharing what you can do, then you're actually depriving people, which we know is something that, you know, is a real thing. I've got a client who wanted to reach out to private equity prospects, and he wasn't doing it. So when we started working together, he'd been thinking of this strategy for a long time, but he hadn't done anything about it. And his limiting beliefs around this were, They're much better educated than me. They've got Ivy League education. I don't have that. They're much more successful than me. They know more than me. So these are all the limiting beliefs we listed on our first call.
Yeah.
And then we systematically worked through them. I took them through my unstoppable success process to dissolve these limiting beliefs, and then to start putting in new empowering beliefs about the expert that he was, what he had to offer, the value he was going to bring to them. And after 3 calls, he sent me an amazing testimonial. And he said, I'm reaching out to these guys. He was reaching out to around 10 of them a day, inviting them onto his podcast, building relationships with them. And he said something really interesting. He said, if I don't approach them and offer them my services, they may end up working with someone who gives them an inferior service,
right,
and won't give them what they want, and may charge them more than they need to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I've got to get to them first because my service is so good and I know I can help them. So he was really coming at it from the service point of view, because he became so confident in his ability and what he had to offer. There was no stopping him. And that was simply by turning around his thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's had such a huge impact in his business.
It's not that hard, is it? It's, once we clear this.
It's not that hard. But if you feel that this is what is stopping you and getting in your way, then do something about it.
Right.
Because it's very easy to say, well, I'll sort that out one day. But in the meantime, let me just, invest in this new strategy or this new process or the new system to get me my breakthrough. That stuff won't work as well as when you've done the internal work first, the inner work. The most successful people in the world, the athletes, sports people, the entrepreneurs, people at the top of the corporate ladder, a majority of them have done personal development work.
Yeah.
Because they know that it is absolutely important to keep that level of clarity and calmness when stuff is going crazy around you, because we don't know what's going to come next. Who would have predicted the pandemic?
Right.
Well, I'm sure some people did, but it caught us unawares. And so we have to cope with it. And, during this time, mindset is more important than ever, because as we know, there are some people who are just feel like rabbits caught in the headlights, and other people are pivoting their business and they are having the best year they've ever had.
Right. It's not a weakness to ask for help or have a coach.
No. Being vulnerable, I think, is such an attractive quality in people.
Yeah.
It really is, to be transparent and say, look, I messed up here, but I learned from it, or I messed up. Can you help me to get me back on track? I mean, I mess up all the time, but those are, and I know this sounds trite and it's trotted out all the time, but they really are our greatest opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
The times when things don't go well. If we can use that opportunity in a productive way, rather than being in denial or beating ourselves up and calling ourselves losers, if we go down that road, then we're not going to learn. But if we're really open to learning from that opportunity and seeing what we can get from it that's going to help us and help our clients as well, then they really are golden moments. And when we look back, we can see, well, that didn't work, but that caused me to do that instead. And I'm so glad I did that other thing instead, because my life changed as a result of it. And often we don't try things because we don't know what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
It's impossible as entrepreneurs to know if we put out an offering, how many people will sign up. It's impossible. So most of the stuff that we do, most of the action we take, we don't know what the result will be. There's so much uncertainty. But think about things that you were uncertain of doing, but that you did, and now they've become a big part of your life. They give you so much pleasure.
Right.
So whether it's, asking someone on a date, or, starting a new job, or whatever it was, you chose to do something not knowing what the result would be, or, starting an exercise regime, or whatever it would be. And now you think, well, that is such a part of my life. I'm so glad I tried that.
Yeah. Stretch beyond your comfort zone.
That's what we're here to do. We are absolutely here.
Mindset is everything. So
it is. And stretching beyond our comfort zone, it's I always think it's a game. We're playing a game of life, and we can seriously and feel that we have to be in control of it all the time. And the way to be in control is to stay small and, stay within our comfort zone very firmly. But you don't have to come out of your comfort zone. You can stretch your comfort zone. And that feels good. And then when you stretch your comfort zone, you can come to a new point of thinking, a higher level of thinking, and that becomes a new comfort zone. And you won't go back to the old comfort zone, and then you'll stretch yourself to the next comfort zone. And that makes it really exciting. And I always say to my clients, you're going to starting a really exciting journey. Yeah. We're not sure where you're going to end up. You shared your goals, but you may decide as you're evolving your thinking and you're creating these strong beliefs about what's possible for you, you may decide, you make different decisions along the way than you thought you would. And it is an incredibly exciting journey.
That's what's great to have a coach too, to bounce ideas off of and have them, put you out of your comfort zone a little bit or stretch you.
Absolutely. I always say to my clients, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to call you out on your excuses and on all your stories, because I wouldn't be doing my job if that weren't the case.
Right.
And they're all absolutely happy to be called out, because they cannot see. Often we can't see where we're tripping ourselves up, because it's such habitual thinking. And often when I start with clients, I'll say, well, I was talking to a new client yesterday, and she said that an office manager basically took the money out of the account. And then she was saying, and then, and I built up my business again. And then something similar happened again. The accountant took some money out of my account, and then I found out about it later on. And I said, can you see there's a pattern here? And she went, oh, yeah. So she builds up a business, and then somehow the money goes. There's something will happen. And there's just a sabotage going on.
Right.
A classic form of sabotage, but she couldn't see that pattern. And when I pointed it out and she was able to see it, and now we're working on the limiting beliefs to make sure that pattern never, ever happens again. And her goal is to build a 7-figure business, because all the effort that goes into it, and then we hit an upper limit and we think, oh, that's too big for me. I don't deserve that level of success. And then something will happen to take that level of success away. So we go back into our comfort zone again. And it's incredible how many times it happens. But as an entrepreneur, do you really want to repeat self-sabotaging patterns of behavior? No, of course you don't. But you may not be able to see them yourself, but they're there, and we all have them.
Yeah, once you realize that you've been limiting yourself so much, it's so exhausting with all those doubts in your head.
Absolutely. And it has a huge impact. It can grind us down. It can sap our energy. And we just think, well, I should be further along than I am. Why isn't it working for me? What's wrong with me? Why are other people doing so much better than me? And it can be very, very debilitating thinking, and it can weigh heavily on our shoulders. But it really comes down to making decisions about how you're going to show up in your business, how you're going to show up in life. Are you going to show up as someone who just thinks, okay, it's not going to work for me, I'll just do a little bit, but then I'll pull back in again, try a little bit, and then pull back, and have gaps in between as well? Or are you someone that says, okay, I want to play this game of being an entrepreneur, let's go for it, let's just try it, I'll learn a lot along the way, some things will work, some things won't work. I interviewed this guy, he's a really, really successful entrepreneur. He said something really interesting. He said, about 90% of the stuff I try doesn't work. And he said, well, that's fine, because the 10% that does work, it's given me a really great business. He's always trying things out. He creates coaching groups, he tries new processes, he loves tech, always doing things. He's prolific in his action, and he's okay with 90% failure. Yeah,
that's what marketing is all about.
That is what marketing is all about.
Yeah.
And that is, I just think being an entrepreneur is so much fun. It really is. We are in control in terms of, we're in control of the service that we offer, how we put our day together, who we want to work with. We haven't got a boss telling us what to do. It is such a great, unique opportunity to be an entrepreneur. So make the most of it, really go for it, but make sure that your thinking doesn't pull you back. It doesn't make you play small, and it doesn't make you feel like a fraud, because I can say to anyone who's watching this, you are brilliant at what you do, but you have to share that with the world.
Yeah, just put it out there. Nobody's going to make fun of you. Nobody's going to laugh.
No, people are too obsessed with what they're doing themselves and worrying about themselves, that they're not going to
They're
be
all
there
just
to troll you.
heads buried in our phones.
Exactly. But this is the big stuff.
Yeah.
Our thoughts are everything. The next thought we're creating is going to dictate your results. So choose your thoughts wisely. Really pay attention to them. Bring your awareness to what you're thinking. Bring your awareness to how you behave, how you respond when something doesn't work out for you. What's your pattern of behavior? Do you take days to recover? Do you take weeks to recover? Do you get back up and try the next thing? Really pay attention to that, because that will show you your patterns which aren't working for you. I like to call patterns productive or unproductive. We want as many productive patterns of thinking going on for us as possible, because that's the wind beneath our wings.
Yep.
That's what's going to carry us to our goals. Have big, bold goals. Why go for small goals when we can go for big, bold goals?
Right.
Because we're able to achieve what we want if we believe we can. It really is, I would say, as simple as that, but it's also as challenging as that as well.
Right.
Because I know how hard it is to change our thinking when we're thinking the same thing all the time. It's really, really tough to pay attention to our thoughts enough to keep on top of it and to keep persisting with changing our thinking.
Right.
Do it every day. Mindset work is daily work for the rest of your life. You don't brush your teeth for a few weeks and think, well, that's done for the rest of my life. I don't need to do that anymore, because I've done it for a few days, few weeks, got a good result. That's it. I know when I take my foot off the pedal with mindset work, for me, my results go down.
Right.
When I put my foot back on the accelerator, then my results go up. It is an absolute, if you plotted it on the graph, the two lines would be absolutely going together the whole way on the graph. So I've seen this with myself, and I've seen this with hundreds of clients that I work with. Please do your mindset work.
Yep.
You are an expert. Step into the expert space and share your amazing gifts and help people transform their lives. They need you.
Yeah. That's great. Nina, how can people learn more about you? What's your website?
My website is Nina Cooke, Nina, Nina Cooke, COOKE.co.uk. As you can see, my name written there. And I have a free gift. The gift is a Millionaire Mindset Scorecard, where you can identify the limiting beliefs around success and money that are holding you back from having all the success you want. And I firmly believe that you can absolutely have all the success you want. There are no limits except for the ones we make up in our minds. So that scorecard is free. It gives you lots of insights about what's keeping you stuck, and also how you can go from stuck to unstuck. And the URL for that is ninacooke.co.uk/scorecard.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nina. It was great catching up with you.
Well, thank you for inviting me along, Ted. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Okay. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.